Hi, I'm Adam Meyer of Mill City Lutherie in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and in this video we're going to bring back to life this 1930 National Triolian. I believe it's 1930, based on metal body, the color. It's got a round neck and a 3-digit serial number followed by W. If I'm going through all the criteria on the forms correctly, that leads me to a 1930. Regardless, a very old instrument. It's got some playability issues, which you can almost guarantee with something as old as this. So we're going to bring this back to life. This is going to be relatively easy compared to like a dovetail joint, because this is a metal body guitar. The basic concept is the same, where you're trying to angle the neck back, but the motions I have to go through to achieve that are going to be different. So first of all, we need to get this neck corrected because it's back bowing a lot. Then we'll follow through with the neck reset and any other issues that have developed over the many decades of this guitar's life. First issue we have here is these are non-adjustable necks. And you can see we've got negative 0.008 relief. I can get this to hold straight. What it means is the neck is going this way. Going back would read in the negative area, or that way, or positive relief, it was like that. See if I can set my straight edge on here. Highlight where we got a problem. Yeah. Got at the E, or the 3rd fret here, got a bit of back bow going on. So first thing we're going to do, get this all apart, see how much the neck flexes. I'm going to check with notch straight edge, because also up the part that's on the body, that is actually curving up a little bit, but we need to do a neck reset on this, so that all kind of works together. Let's take another look here now that we've got the strings off, let's take another look here with the strings off. My notch straight edge does not fit this scale length, so if you're wondering, can't be using that on this guitar. But we went from back bow of 0.008 to about 14 thousandths. So this neck flexes 7 thousandths of an inch. So we're going to need to pull the neck forward with a heat treatment, so that we know that, let's say we're trying to go for, let's say, somewhere in that 3 to 5 thousandths area, pretty close to a straight neck. These are usually real low relief type of guitar. I need to get this up into kind of the negative, let's say like around 3 or 4 area. So it's not a big change, but it will definitely help things out. Also want to make note of the fret ends on this. They're already bulging out the side a little bit. So as I'm doing this, I've really got to make sure that I'm not going to be causing any damage. So we are going, starting off lower heat on the side here in a shorter duration than what I would normally do. Just want to gingerly kind of coax this along. Got the guitar all set up on the neck jig here, and all it is I'm going to adjust the neck to be pushed forward. I'm going to set up the heat blanket once I get this adjusted to where I want. I'm going to go for about level. I'm not going to go too hard with this to begin with. Just kind of feel it out for the first session. And I'm right about level, maybe about 1 or 2 thousandths. I'll bring it back just a little bit right there. So we're not trying anything too difficult with this. So next is lay the blanket on. Use my fingerboard clamping cauls. And what happens is I have a module that controls the temperature. Be plugging this in, a little thermostat on the blanket, and we're going to leave it clamped like this for, I'll be checking on it every 20 minutes or so, make sure that things aren't getting too hot. I'm going to start with the temperature lower than I usually do, and just make sure that nothing's going to react with this. Don't want inlays coming loose or the binding cracking or anything like that. So we're going to go at this more gingerly than I normally would. Okay, so this is day 4 of doing this heat treatment. I've been eking it forward just a little bit, kind of just little by little, add a little bit more. Give it heated a couple times a day. So get this set in place. I had this set close to the 10, and we're at about 8. This is with the tension on. So I'm going to take the tension off. See, we're like right about that -2, -3. Maybe 4. Alright, the heat treatment is completed, and I've also let the guitar rest for probably a couple weeks here just to make sure that the heat treatment is going to stick. Really old wood, if it wants to go one way or the other, that's just kind of naturally where it wants to stay. We're having good results with this. So we've got that established. Now it's time to correct the neck angle. I'll get some close-up views of this and show kind of how there's basically no break angle going over the saddle, plus the action is a little bit high. I also got a new biscuit and saddle from National, so I'll be replacing that. Just kind of the same thing as if you have an old Les Paul and you put a new Tune-o-matic bridge on. Keep the old part, you can swap them out. It's not like you're refinishing the guitar or something. You've got your original part, plus it's just something that wears out. It's not a big deal to replace these. So the plan is, I'm going to take strings back off. I'm going to take this top off because this part that goes over the strings, usually there's a couple bolts on either side and I can take that off and deal with the saddle. This one, it's welded together, so I have to take the whole top off. I'll put the saddle in, get it all slotted, and then we're going to be able to tell just how far we need to take the neck back, because this saddle is taller than what's there, so I don't want to slot really deep to match that. I want to have a lot of new saddle when this job is done. So one major thing to notice here, we have no down angle going across the saddle. Granted, National resonators, they don't have a lot of down angle. It's still little, but we barely have any. We're not getting overtones because, you know, the strings can fit into the saddle a little bit tight. Pretty close to the, that one's catching a little bit. So that's really the only reason why we're not getting a lot of harsh overtones. The action is just barely at normal height for a resonator, but this is a sign that the guitar needs a neck reset. All the screws are off. That's all there is to it. As you can see, there's no bolts here, so I have to do all the work with this off. And go to take a look at this. You can see that the saddle has been shaved down. They're typically painted black, but just discovered an issue. There's usually one screw going through the middle here. This one has been nailed together, so I don't think I'm going to be able to use this cone either. So get a replacement cone sent here, and we'll attach the new biscuit to that and get everything underway. Alright, here we go. From National, we've got the new cone here. Let's check this out. Appears as though it'll be the correct size. So let's get this all back apart. Put the new biscuit and saddle onto this and get it strung up again. Just a little note, the brand new biscuit and saddle here, there is a little bit of a radius to it. You can see it slopes down. This would be the treble side. The National logo would go towards the tailpiece. Once we get the top on, that middle is going to be way too big. So I'm going to shave it down a little bit, not a lot, and see where we were, and this was just gone too far. I'm not going to go anywhere close to that, but right off the bat I need to trim this down. I'm going to make it flat on top as well. So we're going to take just some, just so that I can fit everything together. There isn't a lot to these. You don't want to damage it. Gotta be careful. Just get this screwed in just enough to hold the biscuit in place. It's not going to spin around anymore. And that's all you need. All strung up, spaced out, everything ready to go for me to be able to check out the neck angle. It is very high action, so the amount I took off the top, that may not be the end of the story here. I may be sliding this down a little bit more. It's enough to get under the cover and have everything still work fine. So now I need to get the neck off and start seeing how much I can bring the neck angle back to bring this action down. There are going to be 2 screws hidden behind these inlays. There are other models of these where they may have 5. That's what we have here. So you know, I'll just warm this up. I should be able to just simply pull the dots out, and there'll be some screws behind that. Comes apart. Also got to take the tailpiece off, and there's some other screws underneath. I'll get some pictures of that along the way. And after that, it's sort of the same thing as doing a neck reset on a regular acoustic. I have to adjust the angle of the neck heel. Where it's different is inside. I'm going to give you a look at that. Alright, first thing I did, I took the strap peg out so I can take our tailpiece off. Lift our cone out. You can see we've still got a screw here, and what I'm going to need to do is, like I said up here, we'll be pulling the screws out from underneath these dots, and the idea is this whole neck will slide out the end of the guitar that way, and we'll be trimming the neck heel. You can see under here there are multiple places where I'll have to kind of shave or add wood to get the neck to tip back and to hold its angle. I will likely be adding wood shim underneath this round part here, whatever National calls that, and I will likely have to trim wood off of the end of this stick here underneath. Super simple, just like I'm pulling the neck off a standard acoustic. I'll get my heating pad on here. Just gonna let this warm up for a little bit, and then I'll get those dots pulled out. And just, the holes aren't a perfect fit around these. I have a little room to get an X-Acto knife down in there. Just wiggle along the edge. Feel it starting to pop out. Oop, there we go. So, gotta hang on to this. It's the original parts. Let's see if we can get those screws out. So to get the screw out, what I have to do is on the inside there's this wood support underneath, and the screw goes down through the fingerboard tongue, threads in. As you can see, there's a little nut on the other side. So just got to get my hand in there. There we go. There you have it. That stage is done. Now we have these 2, we'll call them feet. I'm sure National has their terms for these things. This one, it's wedged in there, but I can just pull it out. Got a little bit of shim wood in there to kind of force everything together. See, it's craftsmanship back then. Well, now hold up. I tell it was wiggling. I was about to try and get that shim off, but if I pull enough, because this foot isn't on the bold part. It's actually, you know, relatively flat there. I mean, there is a little bit. If I just keep pulling, there we go. Now it came loose. And yeah, I can repair that. That's no problem. Just put that back in place. And there we go. That is a National Resonator guitar neck joint. I'm going to start off by trying to get this little bump taken out. Seems like a appropriate way to start this. Then I'll go after all these little divots, dings, whatever. It kind of looks like hail damage, so I'm going to treat it like it is. I should be able to get some sort of result out of this. I don't know if it'll be much, but gotta at least give it a shot, because this right here, this is kind of one of the sore spots. It's bulging up here, it's dented down there. I'm gonna use a little plastic block here. Any improvement is good improvement. I do not expect miracles. Just gonna clamp this until I know I'm flat. And hopefully you'll be able to. There's a little bit of improvement. Not a lot, but hey, like I said, we need little bits here and there. So now I'm just going to keep working my way around, try and get all these little spots to press out a little bit. Maybe get this hump here taken down a little bit more. So these corners are all rounded back. So I there's scratches everywhere on this guitar, but I don't want to press perfectly square scratches anywhere. So it's nice and smooth, and it's actually doing a much better job than I anticipated. So I'm going to come up here, see if you can kind of see. And it's not only just the little dimples that I'm focusing on, but the whole top in this area is leveling out as well. So I'm getting like two things done at one time. Let's get it where it's nice and tight. Bring it back out. And yeah, it's definitely leveling out. I don't have, there was definitely a ridge here before, and that is gone. Now I gotta fit this back together, check how much I've corrected things. On this guitar, it isn't simply just changing the angle of the neck heel. A regular acoustic, regular dreadnought all wood, you would correct that, then you'd put some shims on the dovetail and help refit that. This one, we're shaving here, but then this part that goes through the rod that goes through the body, that gets screwed to the back of this lip here, but that's not far enough to close this gap. So as I'm angling that back, I've got to also shave this here at the end. You can see how that still moves, and I've got gaps still down there. So take a little off here, take a little off there, keep checking back and forth, and eventually we get the whole thing tipped back. Like I was saying, take wood off the bottom end here to add angle, but then down here I'm going to have to remove this as well because the whole thing is tipping up like that. This is bumping inside, so I'm just going to take off a little bit of wood here as well. Right, I've got this pretty close to where I want the action to end up being. And things left to do, I'm going to go through and clean up around here, the neck joint. It's not all flush all the way to the bottom. Still gonna get that cleaned up a little. We do have a nice approximately like 5-degree brake angle coming over the saddle, so there's going to be room over the years to continue slotting, bring the action down if there are further issues with this. Underneath this tongue, the stick that goes all the way through the body, that's pretty much parallel with the tongue here, and it's kind of pushing up on the metal underneath here. So I'm going to go in just with like a little sandpaper or whatever and trim that down a little bit so I can get this to clamp down a little better, a little closer to flush. And by the time I'm done with that, then it's time to actually, for real, get this all put back together. So alright, and under here is where I'm talking about. This is not glued together. As you can see, I can slide a piece of sandpaper under there. I'm going to work this down just a little bit. It's not going to take a whole lot to make an improvement, but yeah, taper that down. Then, of course, we got the 2 screws here. This will bring it down, and we'll get a better finished result than leaving it as is. Time to get this back together. Really, it's pretty simple. You slide it back in. There's a screw at both ends here to hold this in place. Then underneath where we had the dot before, got to put this support piece back in. Just a matter of sliding it into place, finding the hole. I'm just going to screw it together. This will get the fingerboard tongue to rest on the top and give some extra support. Both the support pieces are back in place, and you can see this doesn't pop around anymore. We got this all built up. It's not perfectly flat. I got what I can out of it. It's definitely a lot better than it was. Now we need to put these 2 pieces back in, and coincidentally they were, this one was up here, this one was back here. Show you over here. See how this one's too short, this one's too tall, but just by coincidence this one will fit here and this one will fit there. If these did not fit where they originally went, as you can see there's an impression on the bottom back here, then you'd need to either put some sort of shim on the top or bottom. This is actually from National, back when they built this guitar. That's not from me, but coincidentally, taking the one from the end and moving it up here, since we've changed the neck angle, this wedges in nice and tight, and put this longer one back here, and that one wedges in nice and tight as well. So, glue these dots back in over the fingerboard tongue screws. I'm just going to use a little bit of this type of hide glue. I don't feel like mixing up a special batch just to glue in 2 little dots. This stuff works perfectly fine for situations like this. Just get a little on my drop stick. These weren't a perfect fit before I took them out, so they don't look perfect when I'm done. Not that big of There we go, National Triolian. About a 95-year-old guitar at the time of filming this video. Plays like it's brand new. Really isn't anything all that difficult about it. but it is where you need to take things in a certain order, the various steps of this. You don't want to do the neck reset when you've got a neck that's backbowed. So you need to actually do the heat treatment first, or any fretting or refretting. So, you know, if you're very budget conscious on something like this, it's sometimes a little bit of a gamble. Granted, this is not a dovetail neck joint, so you know, if it's a a Martin or a Gibson, it's a little bit of a different story if you want to do the fretwork first or not. Usually you don't, because you want to make sure you get that neck taken care of first, because that's more of a priority. On this, the priority was getting the neck corrected, and then the neck reset on this is much less invasive than trying to pull apart a dovetail glue joint. So we've got new parts. Make sure we keep a hold of the original. You know, don't get creative trying to reattach things. I mean, this was nailed on. It may have been somebody who just didn't have any guitar repair people in their area, and they just needed to get something done. All right, whatever. But you know, do it yourself, or just try and stick to the way it was originally meant to be repaired. So any questions about this or any other projects in my catalog, just you can always leave a comment or contact me through the information in the About section of my channel, and we'll see you next time.